Australia. Welcome back Spearfishing Down Under to part 2 of a day's diving I had with Kimi Werner. Now we're diving down in northern New South Wales and we shot some really nice fish. We shot some Mulloway, some cobia, and let me just add, this was prior to some of the rule changes we've had in New South Wales. Now, I want to be really clear, you can only take 2 jewfish per day per boat or 1 per diver when there's more than 2 divers. Now, she came diving with me a number of years ago before those rules had changed. Right at the end of the day, we'd had to move spots because a big bull shark turned up and decided he wanted to eat everything we shot. So we headed to another reef that I really love to dive because it's always fishy when we dive it. Kimi and I again dove to the bottom, and as we hung there, I just looked around and there was so much fish. Bait fish, small yakkers, small pomfrets, heaps of sturgeon fish. After a couple of dives, we noticed there wasn't any more Mulloway here, so we headed over to another reef that was a little bit deeper. I dove and I was heading to the bottom, and as I was sort of scanning just to see where I was about to land, and I noticed a black whaler coming straight at me. Come around and tried to get behind me. I sort of turned and followed him and followed him and followed him as he made his way around me. And I looked back to see the dumbest jobfish in Australia swimming straight underneath me. Shot him right behind the head and I pulled him back to the surface. That fish had no fear of me. You never see jobfish like this. That fish did not even swim away one single bit. That's the dumbest jobfish in Australia.
How deep was you? Like?
Not even 15. Baby though. We moved along the reef just a little bit and it was my turn to be boating. Josh and Kimi were breathing up and I was parked on the spot for them to drift back to the spot. Kimi and Josh dove together, and as they headed down towards the bottom, they again noticed it was really fishy on the bottom here. Josh spotted a really nice Mulloway hanging just above this big set of boulders. You can see as he swims across to it, he swims up to a huge black cod. Now this species is protected in New South Wales. They're very lucky they're protected because they are so very tasty. He swims past that black cod and he shoots himself a really nice Mulloway. That fish took off, tried to get him in the reef. He had to pull it out, untangle his line. And he turned around to see Kimi as she shot herself another really nice Mulloway. Josh and Kimi pulled those fish to the surface together and we got some great footage and we're all laughing, just cannot believe how good a morning and into the early afternoon we were having.
Yeah, no, no.
That was awesome!
Well done.
That was great.
After getting some awesome footage on the surface and having a great time laughing and celebrating the fact that we've just had such an incredible morning and start to the afternoon, we realized it was 2 o'clock and we're supposed to drop Kimi off at 2:30. So we headed in and dropped her off quickly. We chatted to the boys. After being such an awesome morning and being so fishy, we decided we're gonna just dive till dark anyway because it was such a great day. Took some photos with Kimi at the boat ramp and we had a laugh together, said goodbye, and we headed back out for a little bit more diving. The weather was dropping right out and it was so glassy we decided we're gonna head further offshore. The target for the afternoon was actually big mangrove jacks. Now, big mangrove jacks are an incredible fish. For us here, we call them mangrove jacks. Over in America, you call them mangrove snapper. Very similar to the Cubera snapper. Don't grow as large, they only grow around that 15 to 18 kilo mark. I've heard stories of them being 20 and seen fish that I would say go very close. I love these fish. They're always hard to target. They live in deep water. Oftentimes they live in holes, boulders, and are very difficult to pull out of that deep water. I breathed up, I did a dive, and when I got to about 10 meters, I looked up to see a really big wahoo swimming past. Listen, we'd already shot lots of fish and I wasn't really interested in a wahoo at this stage. I was looking for a big jack, so I continued to head to the bottom. As I got down, I noticed this spot was so fishy. Big schools of surgeon fish, and in amongst them was some really big kingfish around that 15 to 20 kilo mark. So I'm down past the kingfish, and I was scanning the bottom for big mangrove jacks, and I looked to my right and noticed this massive school of Mulloway. As I drifted down to the Mulloway, I noticed they were all really, really big fish. I hit the bottom, creeped over slowly, one spooked, but I picked the biggest fish I could see in that school. And I got a really nice shot on that fish. I headed back to the surface, pulling that jewfish up with me. It was a really nice Mulloway, and when we weighed it later on, it weighed 23 kilos.
Phew! Good fish. How's that wide?
Oh, he was a toe.
Yeah.
We did a few more dives around this area and we didn't see any other fish, so we decided we'd make a move. We headed to another area where I've also shot big mangrove jacks in the past. First dive, I came down an isolated big patch of boulders. Again, as I come to the bottom, I noticed it was really, really fishy. Huge schools of surgeon fish, and I begin to come down through the surgeon fish and I noticed some really big mangrove jack on the bottom heading in, hiding under some boulders. Tried to come quickly and quietly through the surgeon fish so I didn't spook those surgeon fish and spook the mangrove jacks more than they were already spooked. I noticed a big one dart underneath a boulder, another one headed around, and he stopped and looked at me and I could see he was a really big fish. Before I could come over that boulder, he shot into a gap and hid between the boulders. I creeped my way over on the bottom and I came down and looked into the hole and he just popped his nose out. I shot him right in the eye. That fish started going nuts, and fortunately I was able just to work him out of that cave before he jammed me up and got me stuck real bad. Headed to the surface, and when I pulled him up I realised this is a monster jack. Later we weighed him, 13.6 kilos, an absolute cracker. You know, this just capped off what was an incredible day. We had a great morning diving with Kimi. We shot some really awesome fish. And then to cap a day off like this with a mangrove jack like that was just absolutely incredible. Every time I take one of these mangrove jacks, I honestly am absolutely stoked. Jumped in the boat. Honestly, I was just going nuts. I couldn't believe I was able to finish the day with this fish.
Oh. Yeah! 20! Here he goes over here. Woohoo! Yes!
We moved again, and I thought I'd just do one last dive on one last spot because as I drove over it, it looked so fishy. I dove, headed to the bottom, I come down on this massive crack amongst two big boulders to see this crack completely filled with huge Mulloway. Got some great footage sitting there, fish all around me. There was kingfish, there was amberjacks, and this crack was completely filled with awesome fish. I just hung for a while before pushing off that boulder and heading back to the surface. Then, you know, as I swam back to the surface, I looked up, saw the boat. I couldn't help but just smile as I reflected on what was probably one of the best days diving I'd had for a long period of time.
Full of dew, that gutter.
Hanging out with great friends, getting to know new friends even better, and shooting some incredible fish is again what spearfishing is all about. This trip was just absolutely insane. We shot really nice Mulloway. Kimi got her first. I got Mulloway, Josh got Mulloway, got cobia, got mackerel. I shot a dream jack. It was just an incredible trip. Hey, but next episode, we got some more girl power. I had some friends of mine come over from the UK and I took a girl diving who, it was her third time spearfishing and she also shot some really nice fish. Hey, if you want to find out more about Kimi, there's a link to her socials in the description. Also, both Kimi and I are sponsored by RIFFE. If you want to see more about this gear that we use when we're spearfishing and we wear, you can find also a link to that in our description. Hey, like, subscribe, click that bell because you don't want to miss this next episode. I'm awful shot in the head and I shot it right in the face.